In this episode of the Infinite Media Podcast, I have some great information for all of you. But before we get into that, I first want to say in this episode, we're going to go over specifically AI and the AI in Pathfinder Wrath of the Righteous because I finished that. Well, I didn't finish it, but I finished the Let's Play series. I'm transitioning for things on the channel and starting to cover more overall concepts instead of the let's play style content. So if you're watching this video, then the last episode for Wrath of the Righteous let's play content for the foreseeable future has already been posted, but I have enough information to give my thoughts. And just for a tidbit, the AI isn't there. That's my main problem, and the AI is so stupid that it kind of takes you away from a game, because if you're immersed in the game, then the creatures, the enemies that you're fighting would act like real creatures would act. And no intelligent creature, if these were intelligent AI, if they had any semblance of intelligence, would ignore all of the living characters and attack a skeleton. This is what I experienced in the game. Attack the skeleton, not doing any damage, and they're just being destroyed by all of my living characters that can actually do damage to them. So at that point, when I realized that, I realized it was the worst part of the game. But we'll get into that later. I'm going to compare this to Age of Wonders 4 because I just finished the Dragon Dawn DLC as far as the story mode that they had. And you can really, I know that there are different genres per se. Age of Wonders 4 is more it's a 4X game, it's strategy, but it has role-playing elements, and the tactical combat is more focused on strategy. Wrath of the Righteous is more role-playing with the tactical combat elements, and then they have more of a tack-on strategic part to the game, but it's understandable because it's woven in the story that you're the commander, so there should be some degree, but you can tell that they just added that on there. It wasn't a core part of the game. The core part of the game is the story, and they knocked that out of the park. And I can understand why, because you need more creative people than that versus skilled people in the art of programming. And I don't want to get too hung up on comparing them to other games, but Baldur's Gate 3 is coming out, and that's is based on the D&D universe, which, if you know, that Pathfinder was based on D&D 3.5. So this game coming up is just, you have to compare these games. Owlcat Games has moved on to Warhammer 40k, but it's still a tabletop RPG role-playing system, so we can still compare these two. I want you to keep in mind that these companies are different ages. Larian Studios was created in 1996. It was founded, if you want to use that term, versus Owlcat Games, which was founded in 2015. But we'll go into the site. Let's do that now. Let's go into the site. We have Owlcat Games pulled up. I wanted to pull up these sites because we're going over this one, Age of Wonders 4, and we're going over Larian Studios. The first thing that I wanted to tell all of you, that if you're interested in these games, if you're interested in creating games, they both have wonderful opportunities. They are relatively new companies. Well, Owlcat Games is new. They're on their third game right now. They're eight years old. They're not even legal. But anyway, they have careers. And what I noticed from this is that they're asking for people in Unreal Engine 5. So that must be the engine that they're going towards, because the two Pathfinder games were created in Unity. My investigation skills might be horrible, but I do not know what engine Rogue Trader is being made in. It might be made in Unity. It might be made in Unreal Engine 5. I just try to do a Google search. If I probably watched more YouTube videos, I could probably tell. I'm thinking it is Unity, but either way, if it's not Rogue Trader, the next game that they are planning on working on will definitely be in Unreal Engine. So if you want to be a part of their team, because they are growing, they're like 8 years old, they're on their third game, perfect opportunity for you. They're looking for VFX artists, game designers, programmers, artists, creative director, lead game designer, cinematic artist, lead UI engineer. So if you're into role-playing games, if you can tell a good story, if you fell in love with their games and now you want to take it to the next level, because I want to point this out, because from watching all of these self-development videos, trying to get money videos, all of that stuff, a lot of them say don't play video games. Playing video games is a waste of time and stuff like that. But now this is a way to turn your passion into a career. You can have fun, be a part of a team, grow with the team. I think it will be a great opportunity. Get involved if you're into that. I'm less of the video game designer type. We're not going to get into me. But also Larian Studios has the same thing. Larian Studios is older. They're illegal. They were born in 1994. Well, 1996. Don't quote me on the 1994. This is Google telling me 1996 that they were made. So they're about 27 years old. So they have some experience. They came out with Divinity Original Sin, which was a great game. They have their own IP. You can just look at the difference. That's why I don't want to compare their games too much, because compared to the Divinity Original Sin and just playing Pathfinder Kingmaker, since I did play Original Sin first, I just automatically saw that, okay, Kingmaker doesn't have the elemental interactions. I don't know if that's because Unity can't do that, because I do know Divinity Original Sin and Divinity Original Sin 2 and Baldur's Gate is using the Divinity engine. Baldur's Gate 3 is using the 4.0 Divinity engine. So I don't know if that's unique to that. So there's the elemental interactions, and then there's actual verticality, because Pathfinder Kingmaker and in Wrath of the Righteous as well, they just use fake verticality. So there are stairs, you can go upstairs, but this unit right here who's on the stairs can attack with an axe or whatever a unit that is down the stairs right there. And these are, if you're really in the game world, they wouldn't be like 2 feet up. If you were taking these stairs, it'll probably be a good 20 feet or whatever on the next level, but they have a lot of room to grow. So if you're just a beginner, I don't know specifically what type of experience they're looking for. Let's go with creative director. The Outcat game was founded in 2016. You have your task: shaping the game vision and developing the game concept. So you work experience in a similar position. That's just work experience there. And this is if you're a creative director. So that's if you're gonna direct something. Of course, you're gonna need like experience if you want to be a director. Let's say you're an artist. Task, you have requirements, experience working on both, all of that experience stuff. This is not a video about trying to find a job. All of that experience stuff, if you can do the skill, if you're good at drawing, you can get the job. You just need to know how to sell yourself and stuff like that. You can get AI to do your resume and stuff like that. If you do want a link to, because I found out there is a new AI tool that can help you do a resume and a cover letter as well. There are 2 different AI tools, one for the resume, one for the cover letter. Just let me know in the comments. So I did want to point those out. Now, comparing the games, everyone already knows that Baldur's Gate 3 looks better. It's it's just great looking visuals. I will try out the game probably early August, maybe in July, depending on things. Well, I'll see how things go because I want to get more of a comparison. I'll have my review videos for Wrath of the Righteous and Age of Wonders 4 out sometime next week or the week after, because the issues with Age of Wonders 4 only came out across one issue with the entirety of playing the game, and that's when I played the most recent episode, and that is because I became allied with the dragon. This is in the Dragon Dawn DLC. So the dragon already didn't like me, but seeing that I was about to win, which I do like that, it showed that the dragon was opportunistic. I hope that's aligned with its personality, but it saw that we were about to win. It was already at war with the rest of the players that were left because we already took out two. Took out Acreon, and then we took out the magic dragon, and then we took out the blood elves or blood gnomes, whatever they are. We took out them. So the dragon was being attacked, at war with everyone else. I already did a little truce with the dragon because they tried to attack my area, and then I've defeated them because we had the strongest army. We were able to build up. And then they requested an alliance. First they did the Wizard's Bond, then Defensive Pact, then Alliance, because we were the only ones left. We already had a truce. But the first time I was like, no, decline. Don't want to do an alliance. I'm going to win with no one on my side. But then I looked into it, and then I said, okay, I feel sorry for it. I'll be in an alliance with it. So we became an alliance. And then about 4 turns before we were going to win, they insulted us while we were in alliance. Understandably, that if you were just looking at things based off of relations and stuff like that, I understand that they would insult us because that's how it's programmed. Now, if you look at it as a realistic sense, I'm like, we're in an alliance, number one. So a real entity, even if it's a dragon, would be more judicial in expressing their opinion. That's one issue. Number two, it's at war with every other empire ruler. So if they insult us, they basically will have no allies. So that's another thing that the AI shouldn't have done if it was more realistic, real person. And number three is that it's just stupid. Just because the relation is low, either they shouldn't have requested an alliance, even though in the circumstances it does make sense to request an alliance regardless of the relation, but it should take into account those factors as well, and I don't think that was taken into account when that decision was made. I don't know if that's something that could be changed a little. I need to look at the modding scene because that kind of gives me an idea of what parts of the game that players don't like or want to see improved, which is great that games are allowing that, and I'm really excited to see for Baldur's Gate 3 what mods are going to be available, because I do know that Divinity Original Sin had mods, Divinity Original Sin 2 had mods, but Baldur's Gate 3 looks to be bigger, more interactive, more secrets than ever before. So I don't know if the main mods are going to add more classes. I know they're going to do that because, of course, Larian Studios has progressed, but they haven't progressed to the point to add all of the 5th edition classes. I don't know any video game that has been able to perfectly bring over all of the classes from the tabletop RPG that it emulates because of the cost and stuff like that, the time. But that's where the other players come in. I don't know how difficult or how popular the modding scene is for a Larian Studio game, because my reference is the Skyrim modding community, and I don't think that's a good reference or a fair reference, because that's just so big and amazing that we probably shouldn't compare it. But that's mainly what I wanted to talk to about. AI. The AI in video games need to be improved. They need to be more realistic. Now, I do understand that that can be an issue in and of itself, because I understand the anger and frustration of when a unit ignores all of these units in front of it and just attacks our squishy. But it makes sense. Uh, Depending on the situation. If a big barbarian with a great sword that's a lot enlarged, super strong, and enraged is in your face, you're going to take some penalties, unless you got a feat or something like that, to attacking an enemy that's over there when you're being threatened. Point blank shot just by itself, depending on the situation, I think it could be tweaked. It could be broken into different feats, something similar to that. I have to look into it, think about how it could be portrayed. But in that instance, I would understand that the AI either prioritizes the 5 foot step, because I noticed that the AI in Wrath of the Righteous doesn't use the 5 foot step ability, doesn't use tactics like that, and they probably should. I think that they were programmed to be on a script and to do things specifically, because I know just starting out that the dretches, I know this was annoying. It was probably effective too, but it was annoying that they would just first thing they do stinking cloud, didn't do anything else. They don't plan the stinking cloud. They don't plot, hey, probably we shouldn't all do stinking clouds at once. Hey, probably we should do a stinking, I should do a stinking cloud, and then hey, this person should do a stinking cloud. Or probably it doesn't matter, because they're chaotic evil demons and they don't plan like that. They're not organized forces, but they're chaotic evil. They're not chaotic stupid. There's a difference. So I don't want to use that argument, because there are demon generals that are able to plan and plot and stuff like that. So it's a fine balance, because if you make them intelligent like humans, then obviously you would target the spellcasters first, because that's what I always do. The weak units with low AC. So then there would have to be some elements in there to like create a wall, stuff like that. Cover is going to be more important. I know that Rogue Trader, because I'm going to keep this up since we're talking about Owlcat games, so you can know what they look like. Rogue Trader has cover in this game, from what I've seen and everything. This is a different system, and I assume that Pathfinder has cover too. I've never used it. Well, it has been used, but barely. Like, it's not obvious. I know there's new spells and stuff. Of course, you have the wall and stuff like that. But other than half cover, 3/4 cover, stuff like that, it really didn't come out at me. But since they have guns, I'm assuming it's going to be similar to. I want to use Age of Wonders Planetfall. We can use Age of Wonders 4 too, because this game and the entire series, they nailed the tactical combat, because that's the focus. They focused on strategy and tactical combat. The story takes a back seat. So there's a difference between this one and Owlcat games. Owlcat games, story first, then we have these mechanics. Age of Wonders 4 is like mechanics, then story. They have an overarching story. They don't go into nitty gritty detail. And then this came out in 2004. Well, the game didn't come out in 2004, but the company was founded in 2004 in Sweden. So it's 19 years old. So it's relatively young. And they were able to make a game like Age of Wonders 4. And it's just going to get better and better. And now that AI is actually becoming intelligent, I am curious to see what route they're going to take. Because they can take two routes. They can keep the AI the same. They don't think they're programmed to do this one specific thing. They're not human like AI. Or they can do a combine where, okay, now the difficulty modes change. Now I'm going to use Wrath of the Righteous as an example and Kingmaker as an example, those Pathfinder games. Instead of going from core to unfair, and now these unfair, their AC and all this stuff is double. And now you can't play any class you want and win the game, because it's like now you have to be optimized, now you have to min-max. Now I can go from core, which is the basic experience if you were playing Pathfinder, to unfair. The unfair uses intelligent AI, meaning now they're going to target your spellcasters. So if you want your spellcasters to be safe, you better get your melee characters, form a wall, get combat reflexes so they can get those attack of opportunities if the enemy decides to charge past you. Get more spells for your spellcaster, like greater invisibility, the invisibility spell, vanish, all of that stuff. So it changes how you play the game, but it doesn't change the fact that you can play any character you want, which is the point of Pathfinder. You shouldn't be pigeonholed to play this specific way if you increase the difficulty, unless that specific way is to play more intelligently. So it's going to be more of an intelligent game, probably even more of an immersive game. Now you have to think about, okay, how does this creature think? Because now they can do that. It's already been proven. They have examples of systems and stuff like that where you could, in fact, I might show that in the next podcast. I don't have that ready with me right now. There's a thing called Ready Player Me I have to check out, and I'll probably get that ready for next podcast so we can talk about that. And then there's another system that is being implemented with NVIDIA, and I think Unreal Engine as well. Don't quote me on that, but quote me on the part that it does exist, where now you can create these AI where you give them their backstory, give them some traits and stuff that like that, and then it syncs with Unreal Engine so you can import that character model and stuff like that. Now it can answer in a ChatGPT fashion, which is really interesting, and I will have that in the because it's really great. Because now, if they switch to Unreal Engine, which it might be their plan, because that would be the perfect thing for what they're doing with their games. Hopefully they go less from a 2D aspect to a 3D aspect, which are kind of leaning maybe towards that, because Pathfinder was less cinematic. They started adding more cinematic stuff with Wrath of the Righteous. We'll see, but they're definitely getting better. They're definitely evolving, and then there's definitely some potential with all of these programs to where now the enemies are intelligent. They have their own backstory. Now they answer in different ways, which is very exciting, because I don't know if you know this or if you think this or not. I think that the Wrath of the Righteous story is better than Kingmaker's story. Let me know in the comments what you think, but they have more characters. The characters are more engaging, in my opinion, Probably because I like Wojif. It depends on how you look at it. Because Knock Knock, Knock Knock was kind of cool. Of course, I already knew Amiri from just playing the Pathfinder game. Um, Talking about Kingmaker. Tristan was Jathal was just evil. Who else? Canera, yeah, Canera and Kalese. I think that's how you pronounce the name. I know how to pronounce Canera because she was my treasure. That other one from Varnhold, whatever his name is, Magar Varn. He wasn't memorable at all. And then the other heroes, I don't even remember them. Versus Wrath of the Righteous, you have Wojif, a tiefling or a thiefling, if you want to pronounce that. That's nice how they added that. And then you have Ember. Ember's personality kind of like philosophical type thing, and then you can contrast that with the fact that her curse is all about destruction and death, but you're that peaceful. Contrast the fact with she has that childlike appearance. A lot of different contrasts with each other. Then you have the elements of the mythic paths, which affects how people treat you. Different companions can have your thoughts on that. And then I noticed that since I went lich for my first playthrough, then now that one person CR was like, no, we don't want to work under you because you use a dark power and blah 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 blah. And then Sela made her comments. I like that, but the problem with that, their approach is they hard coded that into it. They did the typical programming brute force approach. Okay, if the player does this, this happens. Da, da, da. Versus now with AI, which I'm really excited to see what they do. Now they have, okay, this is the character. We're not gonna program it. We don't know what it's gonna say. Now the player is in the world. Now the character can react, can say whatever it wants, and it can be a living, breathing world. So that's one thing. Number two, a second thing, which is very important, and I'm okay how they did this. Kingmaker was time based. Wrath of the Righteous is technically time based too. But I'm going to say Kingmaker is kind of more time based because at this point in Wrath of the Righteous, I'm not like feeling I'm pulled towards a certain event. I'm like in some type of sandbox area at the moment. I've been given the free reign to explore, do all of these things. Versus in Kingmaker, I was constantly like, hey, there's going to be another attack in a bald hilltop. You got to prepare for this. Make sure I have this hanging over your head. Okay. And now you did that. Bald hilltops attack here. Okay, we did that. We fought them. Now we have to wait for the report and stuff. You always have something constantly over your head. Of course, in Wrath of the Righteous, you have the constant threat of demons over your head and the fact that you have to save the world. But it's just not the same. As a player, in and of itself, I always like, okay, bald hilltop attacks. Gotta do that. When will this end? Is this the game? Versus Wrath of the Righteous, it's just so much choice. So we can have a discussion over which one's better, Kingmaker or Wrath of the Righteous later. I like having powerful characters, so I'm probably always going to choose Wrath of the Righteous for the fact that, okay, you can do mythic characters on here. That they added that was amazing, and it was great that they added that for their capstone working with the Pathfinder team. So that's one thing. I'm really excited for Rogue Trader. Hopefully that goes well. Baldur's Gate 3 is shaping up to be amazing. I need to finish Divinity Original Sin 2. I still have a back catalog just to spice things up, but I would definitely finish Divinity Original Sin 2 before Baldur's Gate if Baldur's Gate 3 was not in early access, but Baldur's Gate 3 is in early access. So I'm like, oh, I could play this right now instead of trying to get the feeling of Larian Studios games. I would say play them if you haven't played these two games because they really are fun. It's just the lore part. I'm more invested in the lore of 5th edition because it's the Dungeons and Dragons universe. I like playing Dungeons and Dragons. And I do like 5th edition even though there's a lot of limitations that could be fixed with it. But this brings us to the next thing, the difference between Larian Studios and Owlcat Games, and what helps Larian Studios stand out is the community. If we go to, and you can play test for Larian Studios. If you're interested in working with the team and stuff like that, that would be nice. We can't do press. If we go to the capital, not the capital, but the homepage, then they have merch. They can do these merch things because they created their own IP, which is Divinity Original Sin 2, that helped launch their brand, which makes them stand out. Unfortunately, Owlcat Games is still in their beginner phase, fortunately or unfortunately, but it's understandable. They're making games based on well-known IP, which helps them get their name out there and lets them practice their skills, but they need to come out with their own game and create something new in and of itself. And that will catapult them to the next level, and it will test their skills, because let's be frank, let's call a spade. In Kingmaker and Wrath of the Righteous, you already have the story created. Let's call a spade a spade. You can take some creative freedom if you want, but the story has already been written. You're just translating that into video game format, adding your own spin to it because you can have these mythic paths and stuff like that. Is that understandable? Can we say that? Is that okay? So now that that's okay, they need their own IP so we can really understand their own story, their own skills. We need to know what Owlcat Games is capable of, because right now they're just imitating, they're just copying. This is nothing bad about them. I would say anyone would go through this phase. I will go through this phase. I'm still going through this phase. If I want to learn something and I'm learning something new too, I would just copy who's ever doing the things that are already being done. All they have to do for the art and stuff like that, hey, okay, it's supposed to look like this. Okay, let's draw it. Video game form. Okay, now let's code it. Let's put it in the game. Versus creating something from scratch, and I understand the difficulty of making something from scratch and the difficulty of having a small team. For me, small team means team of one, myself, versus being Larian Studios. What, 6 different game studios now in 27 years? So that's about a studio every 4 years. I'm gonna round to a whole number. They have open positions too, and these are in places. I'm in the U.S. I don't even know. I've heard the word Dublin. Don't know where Gent is, or Ghent. Don't know where Guildford, Barcelona, Spain. That's nice. Would probably like to visit that. And then they have different community events. These are all their own IPs. And then they have their social media. Larian Studios is ahead. That's why I don't want to compare them too much. But I wanted to compare and contrast for the fact that why are these games different? And when I'm comparing a game, of course, it's just natural to say, hey, let's use an example. Avowed. I think Avowed's the game that people say, okay, it's just a Skyrim clone, a Skyrim knockoff. It looks like Skyrim, the Skyrim combat, where you can have a weapon in one hand, a spell in the other, or one weapon in one hand and just fight right there. And you can switch between it. That's a Bethesda thing. Since Bethesda made it popular with Skyrim, every future game for the foreseeable future will relate that to Skyrim. It just is what it is. Is it fair? Don't know. Don't care. It just is what it is. So you have to keep that mindful that, hey, if it works, it's not IP, it's not copyrighted, you can do it. It's good for the game. Players like that stuff. But that's all I want to say. Comparing these games, good games overall. Wrath of the Righteous has a good story, good inspiration for me and myself as far as creating my own world, creating my own universe. I love having the story. I guess I could get the books, but the books cost money. I probably found them free on the. Oh, I'm not. We're talking about you. Let's not talk about. I always support the creators. Support Owlcat Games. Support Paizo. Support Larian Studios. Support. I'm big on supporting the platforms I like. I support Apple with buying their iPhone and buying their products. Do understand support, but I also do understand that, hey, let's look at value opportunities. And if I just need some basic information, and Pathfinder, I understand it has the open rule set. If they made it online for free, if I go to Paizo and they have the storyline and all that free download because I guess it's been so old or something like that, then hey, let's take that, learn from it, and go on with our lives. That would be amazing. So if you like this video, just subscribe for more of the podcast, because in the next episode we are going to go over those systems, those AI. Now that I'm doing less let's play content, then I'll be able to actually explore them in a good amount of detail. So I look forward to that. So I hope you look forward to it as well. Thanks for watching.